For the last 3.5 years, I've been obsessed with answering just one question. Why are some people able to absolutely lock in and crush it while still having time to actually enjoy their lives without burning out? While others with the same talent, ambition, and vision for their life and business struggle to focus, stay consistent, or even get started. I can't even put into words how much time, effort, and money I've spent into building this project to put this in front of your eyes right now. I've invested over $35,000 into mentors, coaches, and more to attain this level of information on high performance systems. I spent thousands of hours studying the works of leading experts in neurology and psychology, and I've personally run experiments on my life, business, workflow, routines, and even identity since 2022. This isn't the typical feel-good motivational or productivity video that you'll see on YouTube. In fact, all of my clients actually pay me over $6,000 to get this type of information. This is by far the most comprehensive course that you'll get to go from feeling lost, procrastinating, and struggling to focus to creating a crystal clear vision, retraining your focus, and building your own systems to consistently execute your goals 2 to 3 times faster. You're gonna learn exactly how to become indistractable, work less, and earn more without burning out. Every single framework and system that you'll see inside has been tested on my life, business, and content, and the hundreds of other founders and creators I've coached to help them scale their business and content. So if you're running a business or creating content of your own and you know what to be doing, but you struggle to do it consistently, this will completely transform the state of your life, your business, and your content. So take the next 1 to 2 hours off, turn on Do Not Disturb mode, put your phone away and out of sight, and absorb everything that I'm about to go over in this video. All right, see you inside. Hey, welcome to the first module of the On Purpose Accelerator. I'm so excited for you to start crushing it and creating a high performance lifestyle. And I know you're itching to get started, but first we need to clear the mindset. Because if you don't have a strong mindset, everything else is going to fall apart. So these 6 mindset shifts that I'm going to be going over today will help you create an impenetrable mental fortitude to keep you in control, right? This is not only going to help you with your workflow, your time management, but it's going to help you in all aspects of your life. So let's dive right in. Why is this so important in the first place, right? Like you might feel this is all hocus pocus, motivational information, or you might feel like this is content that you already know. But understand that if you don't internalize this module, everything else will fall apart and you will not be able to overcome your struggles, right? Your greatest obstacles, it's not because you're too busy. It's not because you don't have the right resources or right tools. It's not your situation, your finances. It's not your parents. It's your mindset, right? And I guarantee you that you're going to want to quit, maybe multiple times. And it has nothing to do with your external environment, but it has everything to do with your mindset. Okay. Being consistent, it's not about staying on track all the time. There's going to be times, right, when you do want to quit, when you get knocked down, when you have bad days. It's about getting back on track, right? So right now in this module, we're going to be covering tactical strategies for you to guard your mindset and energy for when you do inevitably will want to quit. Okay, so watch this module multiple times, keep coming back to it to ensure that you have a strong mental fortitude. Sweet. So mindset shift number 1 is to establish your why, right? People, like we're all motivated by 2 things, right? The avoidance of pain and suffering and the pursuit of pleasure and joy. And the truth is, we're 2 times, if not more than 2 times, more motivated to get away from pain, to get away from what sucks in our lives than motivated for something that we could reach, right? So let me paint the picture for you here. Picture this. You and me, hey, let's go to Bali, Indonesia, right? We're going to take your family, we're going to take my family, we're going to go on yachts, we're going to have amazing food, see tropical fish, birds, have the time of our lives, right? But the thing is, I need you to come up with $50,000, in the next 30 days. Let me ask you, do you think you would be motivated, or do you think it would even be possible to make $50,000 in just in the next 30 days? Right? I think you'd probably think, it'd be great to go, but I just can't afford that money, Daniel. Right? And of course, right, $50,000 is a large sum of money, right? But hey, what if I switch the situation on you, right? Picture this exact situation, right? Your loved one, your mom, dad, sibling, significant other, they go to a doctor for a regular checkup, right? But the doctor comes back and they say that your loved one has an extremely rare disease or a type of cancer, right? And the doctor comes in the room and says, look, it's looking really bad. And your loved one is going to die in the next 30 days. But there is one medical treatment that can save your loved one, but it costs $50,000, right? And I know this is a hypothetical, right? But you don't have any ways of going around. There's no insurance, no loopholes, nothing, right? Let me ask you just one more time here. How hard are you going to work to get this? How hard are you going to work your face off to make that $50,000, right? You're going to sell your car, you're going to sell your PC, you're going to post on every single social media, you're going to set up a GoFundMe, you're going to do everything in your power, right? Reach out to every single one of your connections, right? Am I wrong in saying that? Am I wrong when I say you're going to you're going to make this happen, right? Well, that right there, right? That emotion that you feel that you have to make this $50,000 no matter what. It's not a question of am I going to make it or not. It's when am I going to make it, right? Within the next 30 days. So stop thinking about the nice cars, the nice clothes, the dream vacation. Because if you don't put in the work for yourself now, right? Start taking control of your life now, taking action. Your family, your future family, your relationships, your future life, they are all going to suffer because of the actions you're not taking right now. All right. So I want you to write these next things down. Okay. First is your dream and pleasures, right? What are the 5 things that you want to gain from this on purpose accelerator? Okay. The next is what amazing things will happen in my life when I do get back time, when I do overcome procrastination, when I'm able to focus and execute on all my goals, right? And then what I want you to focus on is the pains, right? The sufferings. What are the things that you have to get away from in your life, right? What are the things that you can never allow to happen to you or your family, right? What are the pains that you've been in the past that you absolutely must get rid of, right? Must get away from. And lastly, find someone to fight for. And don't think about every single person, but find one person. Stop thinking about yourself. Think about serving other people. Okay, for me, right? Like, do you know why I work so relentlessly? Why I wake up 5 a.m. in the morning every single day and work my ass off? It's because I come from an immigrant Korean family, right? I came to Canada when I was just a year old, and my parents, my dad, he used to run a small corner store, right? And every day after school, my sister and I would go there, sit behind him, watching cartoons on a little box TV, right? Doing some homework. And while my mom was working, was a full-time student, trying to create a job and learn some education, my dad was the only one making an income to feed the family, right? And he worked his face off just to be able to feed us, right? He wouldn't even go to the washroom because he was scared a customer would come in and he would lose a sale, right? And so every time I get lazy, every time I want to half-ass my work and hit snooze, I think of them, how much they sacrificed for my life, right? So how selfish would it be for me not to give it my all in my life, in my career, in my business, right? To not be relentless. And I'm a Christian, right? And so I believe that God has designed my life and my life is not my own, right? My life is meant to serve and impact other people. So how selfish would it be for me to not fulfill my purpose, to throw away all my potential that God has given me, to be ignorant of all my dreams, right? To allow my family to continue to be chained down by finances. And so I only have one option. I have to create freedom for my family, my future family, because if I don't put in the work now, right, I'm going to regret it when I'm a 30-year-old bum looking back at my life and thinking, damn, I wish I tried harder. I wish I took action. I wish I wasn't so scared. I wish I didn't make fear-based decisions. I wish I kept going. I wish I never gave up. Even when things got hard, I wish I continued, right? But I have to understand, and you should also understand that time it just never comes back, right? All the regrets that you had, all the regrets that you might have in the future, you have the opportunity today to make sure that you don't regret it. Okay. So what are you going to remind yourself of when you are in hard times, right? Who is that one person that you're going to continue fighting for when things do get hard? Okay. Whew, man, if you're feeling a little emotional after this, good, because I'm just getting started. That was mindset shift number one. Sweet. Dive into mindset shift number two. Life doesn't change from understanding, it changes from action. Okay. A lot of people, they find satisfaction and a sense of completion in, just finishing modules, just like this one, right? But the reality is you've only finished 20% of the battle. Okay. The remaining 80% is all implementation, is taking action. And so your mission is to execute relentlessly, taking imperfect action all the time in this program. Okay. And you might be thinking, I already know this, right? But having that mindset, having that arrogant mindset is the fastest way to stunt your growth. Because the truth is, hey, I'll be honest, if you already knew this and you were taking action on everything that you knew, you wouldn't be in this program. All right. So here's a tip for you to take massive action, right? Is find an accountability partner in this group. Okay. Send a DM, send a message on the Discord channel to members in this group and create an accountability group, right? 2 people, 3 people, maybe even 4 people, right? Whatever the number. And an easy step once you have created one is saying, hey, if I don't send you a picture of me, let's say waking up at 6 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever it is, or me going to the gym 5 days a week, so if I don't send you 5 pictures throughout the week, then I'm going to pay you $100, $300, $500, whatever the amount is, right? And the other person, they don't need to do anything. They just need to take 5 seconds out of their week to count 5 photos. Okay. So go ahead, form an accountability partner after this video, and let's move on to the next part. Do you guys know who this is? This is your classic knight in shining armor. Okay, the knight that comes and saves you, from the trouble or difficult situation in all those, shows that you watched when you were younger or the stories that you heard about, right? But mindset shift number 3 is that there is no knight in shining armor. Okay, the knight in shining armor, this thing is the feeling that once you achieve this thing, is going to be the solution to all your problems, right? And this could be like a mentor, right? Like a coach, a situation, or maybe even this program that you're in right now, right? And you might be thinking, hey, Daniel, look, if I only had X, I would be happy, right? And that X, that is your knight in shining armor. It's going to be different for everyone. And so here are some examples, right? If only I had money, then my family and I would be happy, right? If only I was charismatic, then my business would blow up. I would gain a massive audience, right? If only I had a nice body, then I would be happy. I would feel confident, right? Or now that I'm in this coaching program, right? I'm set for life. I have the solution. I don't have to do anything anymore. That's not true. Okay. You have to take ownership, right? Don't fall into that trap. Never tell yourself that if only I had XYZ, right? If only I had this, I would be happy. I would be successful, right? By doing this, you're taking the easy way out, right? You're making excuses, telling yourself that you have no control over your life, right? You're literally relinquishing your control. And so there is no knight in shining armor to come and save you, right? The truth is, you are the knight in shining armor. You have to become this person for yourself. Okay. So don't give up don't give up your ownership, right? It is so easy to blame others, to blame your situation, to make excuses, right? You might be someone who does have a hard situation, but if you want to create your life intentionally and you want the success and the results that you're looking for, you have to take responsibility, right? And so in this program, the strategies, the modules, that's not going to be the problem. Okay. It's not just me spewing nonsense. The problem is it's going to be the implementation, right? You taking massive action. If you don't do that, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. All right. So here's an example of the wrong mindset. Okay. I tried what Daniel taught me, right, for the first time and it didn't work. Right? I guess he's a scammer. Or something like, now that I'm in the on purpose program, I'm set for life, right? I master time and I can do anything. By doing this, by saying stuff like this, you're surrendering your sovereignty, right? Your control when you start relying on others. Okay. The right mindset here is, something like, I tried what Daniel taught me and it didn't work. Hey, that's fine. The hardest step is the beginning, right? Let me think about solutions. How can I make this work, right? How can I bring this up on our next coaching call to ask Daniel to make this work, right? How can I post on the Discord group to ask questions and get feedback from everyone else in the program, right? But as your coach, I just cannot be your knight in shining armor, right? As much as I want to, help and take the action for you, right? And do everything, I can't do that, right? And so you're not going to be successful if you relinquish that control. Take ownership. I can only get you 50% of the way there, right? The mentorship, the community, all the resources, the tools, but I need you to carry the other 50%, right? I'll do all the heavy lifting. I just need you to show up and take action. All right. Sweet. Mindset shift number 3.5. This is playing the good game, right? So anytime you have a bad situation, you have the opportunity of a lifetime. Okay. Your greatest challenges and traumas, these are your greatest opportunities, right? For example, like let's say you're struggling to make time, right? You're like, Daniel, I'm struggling to make time because I'm taking 5 classes, I'm working part-time in a few organizations. Maybe you're even trying to start a business, right? Then good. I have the opportunity to learn to time manage, to meet new people, accomplish more things in a shorter amount of time, right? Maybe you feel like talking to people is hard. Good. I have the opportunity to effectively communicate, to step out of my comfort zone and refine my articulation of thoughts, my communication abilities, right? Maybe finances is tight, maybe time, right? I have no money, I'm so busy. Good, great. This is the time to get resourceful. This is the time for me to think outside and make something work, right? This is such an amazing opportunity. Okay. The truth is here, the situation is never going to be the problem, right? You are the problem, right? Until you stop pointing outwards and start pointing inwards and telling yourself that, and asking yourself what you can do to change, right? Until you can do that, nothing in your life will change, right? Until you can take ownership and play the good game and look for ways and solutions on how you can make a difference, nothing in your life will change. All right. And there's not a lot of things, right, that we can control in our lives, but we can always control how we react to situations. So while everyone else is sitting around complaining, be the 1% who takes action, right? Who says, what happens, happens, right? Who ask themselves, okay, how am I going to respond to the situation, right? Am I going to sit around and complain? Or am I going to take action, right? Regardless of the fear, regardless of the situation, regardless of all the hardships, right? So sure, it sucks, but what can I do now, right? Stop blaming the external, because the truth is, it sucks to say this, but you're where you are in life. We're all where we are in life because of the actions and decisions that we've made. Okay. Understanding that we have the power to change, that we do, is the first step to creating the future that we want. All right. Sweet. Mindset shift number 4. Okay. Don't avoid failure, embrace it. Okay? In public education, a lot of the times, failure results in some sort of negative consequence, right? Your whole life, we've always been trained to think failure is not a good thing. Failure is bad, right? But failure is necessary, right? If you're trying to avoid failure, you're simply just not going to grow. You're not going to learn. And a lot of people grow up and, grow up to have perfectionism tendencies, right? Because they're afraid of failure. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of standing out. And that's the root of procrastination, right? And I'm not saying go out, intentionally fail, embarrass yourself, whatever. I'm saying don't be afraid of giving it your all. Okay. Because everyone else around you, you might know this deep down, but I'm just going to say this to bring it out here. Everyone else around you is feeling the exact same way. Everyone is scared. Okay. The difference is between successful people and unsuccessful people, losers and winners, is that they feel the fear and do it anyway, right? They learn to take action regardless of being scared, regardless of knowing that they might fail. Okay. And naturally, right, you're going to want to avoid failure and being overwhelmed. But truth is, success is 99% failure. Okay. The faster you fail, the faster you can learn. And the faster you learn means the faster you can succeed. So while everyone else is focusing on how they cannot fail, you're taking action and you're actually winning, right? Sweet. Mindset shift number 4.5. Okay. Let me paint the picture here. Think about the gym. If you're lifting with 5-pound dumbbells, right, and you're barely breaking a sweat, do you expect to get into amazing shape? No, I mean, you can't, right? You have to put on more weight. You have to push yourself harder. You have to work yourself to grow, right? If life is easy, it means you're not maximizing your potential. And it probably means you're not doing the right things, right? And so the same goes for life, right? The more uncomfortable you are, the more you grow. And the more you do things that you're scared of, the greater you become. And so in this program and in life, right, you're gonna you're gonna think, right? Your mental strength is going to be tested here. Okay. And that's a sign that you're growing. You're on the right track, right? And so mindset shift number 4.5 is overwhelm is equal to growth. Okay. It means that you are on the brink of a breakthrough, right? And you have to keep on pushing, right? You cannot fail unless you give up. And so people think it's just a sign, right? When they fail something or they mess up, they think it was never meant to be, right? And this stems from not having a strong why. And so this isn't a sign to give up. It's a sign to keep going, right? This is the make or break it point. You have to see this as growth. Okay. You're undergoing a transformation that's either going to forge you into a stronger version or it's going to reinforce your bad habits that you've already created in the past of always giving up, of always, quitting when it gets tough. Okay. So see this as growth and that you're on the right track. It's important, right? To take breaks. I understand that, right? It's important to do that to not burn out, but understand that if you're always comfortable, right? If you're always making excuses, you're not going to grow. So make a clear distinction between a genuine break and making excuses and being lazy. All right. Learn to seek discomfort. Okay. Thrive in overwhelming situations. Mindset shift number 5. If you want to go fast, hey, go alone, man. But if you want to go far, then go together. Okay. Treat this on purpose community like a family, right? So if you ever feel stuck, if you feel overwhelmed, you feel confused, you had a terrible day, then don't run from them, right? Run to them. If you need help, then come to me, right? That's why I'm here. When things do get hard, that's why I'm here to support you, right? To guide you in this journey. And so there isn't a point in being here, if you're treating this like a course, right? If all you do is listen to the modules and go, right? The thing that's going to change your life here is the community, right? The accountability, the people. This is the thing that's going to help you when you feel stuck, when you feel overwhelmed, pressured. And these are also the same people, the same community that's going to be there to celebrate your wins, right? Celebrate all the accomplishment, to push you to strive for better, right? Sweet. So this community also, mindset shift number 6 is that vulnerability is strength, right? Everyone in this community, everyone in your life, we're all struggling with some kind of problem, right? Everyone's fighting a silent war themselves. And we're all like the reason why we just don't share them is because we're afraid of being judged, right? That's the root of it, right? We're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of being incompetent. We're afraid of being weak. We have some sort of fear there. And look, I'm not perfect in any way. right? And so what I like to remember is that it doesn't matter who you were last year, last month, last week, yesterday, even 1 hour ago. Okay. You have a choice every single second of the day to be better, right? And so, hey, if something happens, right? If maybe someone makes you mad, right? Or you had a terrible situation, something, something just, totally ruins your day, right? Think to yourself this question, right? Will it affect me in 5 years? And if it won't affect you in 5 years, then it's not worth thinking about for more than 5 minutes. It's not worth feeling down and feeling all depressed and feeling like, terrible and letting it ruin your day for more than 5 minutes. So, hey, like, look, let me give you an easy example, right? Let's say you created your morning routine, right? And you slept in one time, right? Forget it. Just move on, right? It doesn't matter because what happened already happened, right? Choose how you're going to react next. Okay. And look, we're here for progress, not perfection, right? And I want this community to be vulnerable. I want us to be honest with each other, to be authentic, to keep it real, right? And I'm not going to hold back on anything, right? I'm not perfect in any way, right? I make hundreds of mistakes every single day, but I keep going. And so remember this, right? If you make a win, for example, you find time to spend on your business, your friends, your family, right? Post about it, right? The more you give, the more you receive. That's just how things work, right? So the more kind you are, the more giving you are, the more you help out other people in the community, the more blessed you're going to become, the more blessings you're going to receive, right? Make a win, post about it. But on the other hand, you're going to have some tough days, right? So if you're struggling, maybe you missed out on a few days, have questions. Maybe you just want some perspective, right? Then post about it, right? Everyone here is here to help each other out because we're here in this together, right? And we're all here to grow and better ourselves. Okay. So your next action items after this is first to join the On Purpose Discord group and make an introduction video and reach out to 3 people inside the program. Get to know them a little better, right? Connect, maybe shoot them a 50-minute video chat, maybe on the Discord channel. And yeah, connect with everyone here. Number 2 is to complete your establishing your why worksheet, right? And to post an accountability post. So once you've created the establishing your why worksheet, you can see it in the membership site. Post about it in the daily action chat and in bold and underlined letters, title it accountability post. And then, you can maybe type up a few sentences to describe it and then post it, right? For us to hold you accountable. And number 3 is to determine your goals and habits. Get really clear on that. You'll see that in the action items in the next module. Welcome to Module 1 of the On Purpose Accelerator of strategizing your success and defining clear goals. Now, you're probably in this program because you're making 2 big mistakes. Mistake number 1 is your lack of clarity. Because if you don't know exactly what you want, then you don't know where you're going. How many of you, if you're asked, know exactly what you want and know exactly where you're going? Probably not many of you, right? Number 2 is mistake of focus. If you do random things, you get random results. How many of you have tried things like the Pomodoro technique or anything else that you found online on social media, what your friends have said, and you've gotten little to no results? It's because if you do random things, you get random results. So here, I want you to get extremely clear on your desired outcomes. And I want you to come back to this module every week, if not every 2 weeks. So let's dive in. The 6 steps to actually setting powerful goals. Number 1 is being crystal clear on exactly what you want. And I mean, be specific with the numbers, the figures, or the feelings, right? For example, consistently generating 5,000, 10,000, 30, 50K per month, $10,000 in my bank account, speaking at 10 events, losing 10 pounds, reaching a vertical jump of 35 inches, whatever it is, get as specific as you can. Number 2 is determining what you're going to give up if you don't hit your goal. For example, I will give up $500 to my friend. I will give up my summer camping trip. I will give up concert tickets, or I'll do something I hate or I'm scared of or that's embarrassing, right? For example, bungee jumping, skydiving, or sending an embarrassing photo, right?
whatever it is to hold yourself accountable. Number 3 is defining a definite date. So for example, December 31st, 2023. And then number 4 is creating a plan. And most importantly, beginning immediately. You want to test it out, right? Begin at once and reduce the amount of negotiation that leads to procrastination and constant and endless planning, right? What I want you to do is use the system ready, fire, aim. Now, ready is getting ready quickly, making a short plan and just getting the bare minimum, bare bone plans. Number 2 is firing, going for it, right? Taking action, just doing it, putting yourself out there, failing, messing up, and getting experience. This is so important. Number 3 is then aiming, adjusting your approach, learning from those failures, learning from those mistakes, and repeating the process. The faster you can fail, the faster you're going to learn, and the faster you're going to win. Okay. Number 5 is writing a clear and concise statement. Now, I gave you 3 examples here. I will lose 10 pounds by July 1st, 2023, and I will work out 5 times a week, right? Or I'll pay my accountability partner $500 if I eat any junk food, non-negotiable, right? By November 31st, I will have gotten 8 hours of sleep every single day and follow my plan for prioritizing my business first thing in the morning before I go to work. If not, I will do a public accountability statement and give away $200 to someone in the On Purpose Accelerator program. And the third one you have as well. Lastly, is saying your statement out loud at least twice a day. More often than not, the reason why people fail things like the New Year's resolution or any other goals that they set is not because it's tough or it's not because it's difficult, but it's because they simply forget. They just don't remember what their goals are and they're not reminding themselves, right? So print this out, print out your why, what we did in the modules before, and print your goals and habits that you want to create for yourself and remind it, right? Write it out and repeat it to yourself in your morning and evening routines that we're going to further create in the next few modules. Okay. Even better, right? Every time you pass by it, read it aloud, stick it on your bathroom mirror, stick it on your laptop, right? Make a note by the front door, put sticky notes all over your room, right? Remind yourself whatever it takes to keep you focused and remembering why you did this and what you're actually striving for. Okay. Now here, I want to dive into just a few systems that's going to help you actually combat overwhelm and procrastination to help you achieve your goals and get you started in a strong start. So first is number 1, breaking it down, right? For example, $10,000 in your bank in a year, that's $833 a month. That's $200 a week. That's $28 a day, right? That could be a business, a side hustle, tutoring, budgeting, right? Getting resourceful. It's never, ever the lack of resources. It's always the lack of your resourcefulness that stops you and holds you back, right? Number 2 is finding a dedicated accountability partner in the On Purpose Accelerator. I'm actually going to be helping you do this. So reach out to me and also reach out to other people in this program, right? You can DM them, you can message them on Discord, ping the On Purpose chat saying like, hey, whatever their name is, saw you're also in the On Purpose Accelerator. That's so exciting. I joined about a week ago, or I joined today, and I wanted to lock in my habits with someone who's just as driven as me to achieve a high performance lifestyle, right? Do you have an accountability partner yet? Or would you be down to crush it together, right? Then if they don't, you can hop on a quick call, get to know each other. And then once you have your accountability partner or accountability group, you can tell that person or group your goals and habits that you're trying to achieve, that are the bigger picture, and say something like, I'm going to send you a picture of me going to the gym 5 times a week, no matter what. This is non-negotiable. If I don't send you a picture of me at the gym 5 times a week, I will literally pay you $500, right? Make it big, but something still affordable. Keep your word. You don't want to lose that $500, because the reason why we do this is because we're 2 times, if not more than 2 times, motivated by loss and pain than a potential gain. Okay. Your partner, your accountability group, they don't have to do anything other than check for literally 5 seconds at the end of the week if you did it or not, right? And here is what is important that I want you to keep in mind. In terms of goals, what do you want to focus on? Your destination or your journey, right? Right here, we sort of just focused on the destination, right? You're going to start with goals, and it's going to start with this because it creates direction and creates clarity. But what I want you to do and what I'm going to help you get is I want to teach you how to learn how to fall in love with the journey, right? Finding ways to make your journey more fun and enjoyable, because the habits that stick, the lifestyle that sticks is one that's fun and enjoyable, right? What we did right now, it's going to help you keep going and it's going to give you that North Star. But what we need to focus on is creating an identity, which we're going to do in the next module, right? But before we go in, I want to go over three things, three simple systems to actually kickstart your habits. First, I want you to make sure you have a extremely strong why, right? Bring this onto our coaching calls, as well as post this on the On Purpose chat. Number two is take extreme ownership. Never lie to yourself. It just won't help you, right? Vulnerability is strength, like I mentioned in the modules before. And remember, if you create a goal and you don't follow through, the only person losing is you, right? If you don't follow through and you hide it from other people thinking, oh, like I'm just not going to do that accountability thing, the only person losing is you. You're breaking the promise and you're losing confidence as well. So keep your word and take ownership. Okay. Lastly is a very simple system. It's called the 3-second rule. You tell yourself 3, 2, 1, and you physically move, right? You get yourself to your desk to study, right? Or you get yourself to your desk to work. Whatever it is, action creates more action and inaction creates more inaction, right? It's all about the momentum that you're creating. Okay. And the bottom, I've also gone over a few habits and routines that you might want to implement. I won't go over this in the video, but you can take a look at these. And if you find yourself beginning to procrastinate on your most important tasks, then just drop them, right? And bring this challenge onto our call. That's it for this module, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is probably one of the most valuable trainings that I've actually created. So, okay, awesome. So this specific training is going to go over everything that you need to understand and everything you need to take action on to completely change your identity. So I'll start with a definition of habits, right? Habits are basically behaviors that have just been repeated so many times, it's automatic. And the thing about habits is that it plays a lot with influence, right? We're influenced by quite literally everything around us, every person, everything, every music, every sound, everything we see. And so we have to consider what, who, everything that we're surrounding ourselves with, right? People, we as humans have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them are negative automatically. So we're already at a disadvantage because of like human nature's negativity bias, right? So we have to choose where we're surrounding ourselves and where we're putting ourselves in terms of environment. So before we go in, I'm just going to go over the 4 laws of behavior change. So these are the 4 principles that you want to apply to any habit that you're trying to create and any habit that you're trying to break. So I can give you examples maybe after this, but just to give us off it's like the CCRR. So cue, craving, response, and reward. The cue here should be any obvious behavior, right? And then craving is making it as attractive as possible. So you want to actually do that behavior. Response is making it easy. How can we make it frictionless and make it streamlined so we're able to just easily move in that direction? And the rewarding. So if you're familiar with positive reinforcement, it's the same concept, right? If we're getting positively reinforced for this behavior, we're going to do it over and over again. The same thing applies for breaking the habits, right? Cue, craving, response, or reward. If you can just take it away in the first place, that's the best thing that you can do because you're just not reminded, right? Notifications, your phone, having games installed, having Netflix, right? Netflix notifications, emails, right? Have those off. If you can just make those invisible in the first place, it makes a huge difference, right? More than you can even imagine. And the second thing is craving, right? How can we make it unattractive to go on, right? And then response is also make it difficult. So for example, I have like 4 different systems on my phone where I have to bypass all of them. It takes me like a minute to get through. And I'm just like waiting there for a minute. And so I'm not going to wait there for a minute just to scroll. Like at that point, I'm just so bored that I don't even want to go on my phone anymore. Like I just get mad at my phone, right? And then the last thing is reward. I'm unsatisfied. Like I'm kicked out after the 5 minutes of scrolling and I'm like, like why did I just do this? Like I just wasted my time. And so we can go into specific examples maybe later on, but we'll give this framework just in the beginning. So in terms of identity-based habits, these are going to be the key to long-term change. So over the next couple of weeks, I want you to focus on this.
the key to building lasting habits is focus on creating a new identity first, right? Because your current behaviors is simply a reflection of your current identity, right? I gave it a little definition as well. What you do now is just a mirror image of the type of person you believe that you are, right? Either consciously or subconsciously, whether you have a good idea of who you are or not, right? And so if you want to change your behavior for good in terms of your identity, the type of person you are, how confident you are, what you do during the day, you have to start by believing new things about yourself. Because if we don't believe it, then it's really hard to actually change into that, right? So the two-step recipe for sustained success comes down to two things. Okay, it's one, you have to decide the type of person you want to be very, very clearly, right? I added a module for this on how you can do this, and then step-by-step guidance. So you can send it over once you're done. And then the second thing is prove it to yourself with small wins, right? Taking imperfect action and learning to adapt through like mistakes. Let's say you woke up at like 3 p.m. and it's just like, what the, like half my day is gone, right? Like I couldn't even see the sun setting. It's winter, right? What's happened has happened. What can we do next? How can we prove it to ourselves with small wins that we can move in this direction, right? Here's the thing about winners and losers, right? If we had to separate people into two categories between winners and losers, it's going to be action, right? It's going to be identity. But before that, let me just define like the goals, right? Goals, it's good to have goals, but I think we both understand that it's not having the goals that create success, right? I can name a million different people who want to be rich, who want to be successful, like who want to have a good life, who want to have like the financial freedom, the time freedom to do whatever you want with whoever you want, whenever you want, right? That's like the common thing. Everyone wants that though, right? So winners and losers have the same goal, but what next? Like, what about actions, right? If we do the right activities, we get the right results, right? I think I talked about this before. Logically, it sounds like a straightforward plan, right? Exercise and eat healthy, you get a healthy and fit body. But that's not the case, right? It's just not sustainable or reasonable. Just like any other diet or any other plan that you're trying to go for, you're only focused on the actions and timeline. So it doesn't account for any emergencies, emotions, or any foresight, right? Anything that happens later on. So instead of focusing on the goals and actions, focus on the identity, right? Goals, actions, and identity. It's in your roadmap as well. So be able to adapt in any situation, find a way to make it work because you are that type of person, right? Be the 1% where like when everything's going to shit, you're the type of person who's like, okay, what's happened has happened. Like, well, what can we do now? How can we still win? Right? Like, sure, I just wasted 90% of my day. Like, I literally just like watched Netflix for 8 hours. Okay, cool. Like, I'm under no obligation to be the same person I was 5 minutes ago. Right. And if it takes you 100 times of you saying that every day, 1,000 times of you saying that every day, like, I think that's what it takes. Right. To just reinforce that idea that like you are actively trying to build a new character. So the number one cue that I like to use, just to make this as simple as possible, is what would this person do? What would this person who achieves X result do in this instant? So Debbie, think of anything that you'd like to achieve, right? And then think of like the top player in that, or like someone you look up to, right? What would this person do? Like who does this kind of stuff? Or for example, like there's quotes all throughout history. Like what would a wise man do? Right? What would someone who's 10 times smarter than you do? Right? What would this person think? I don't know if you're a Christian, but I am. And all throughout history, there's a saying like, what would Jesus do? Right? If Jesus was like the Son of God, he was like perfect being, like everything that he does is perfect. It's like the right decision no matter what. Right? So what would he do in this situation? And there's like a little bit of there's a little bit of an argument where it's like, oh, you don't know what he would do because like you're not in that position. But let's take that person and put him in your situation where he only knows a limited amount of information. So everything that you know, this person also knows. So given that situation, like what would be the best course of action? And then you do what you think that person would do, right? And in terms of actions, these are going to be like a voting system for yourself. So the same thing that you just mentioned on today's call, where like you found it hard to like really switch between like those two actions and behaviors, it's because it's like a voting system of who you want to become. So this mental reframe I use every single day, right? Much easier than memorizing like a 50-point checklist to achieve some sort of goal. So eventually you're going to become the type of person you're striving to be, right? The thing is, Debbie, you can't change your first thought, but you can always change your second. So over time, it becomes effortless, right? I said this just a couple of minutes ago. This is a really important reminder that I want you to remember. You're under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. Really, it doesn't matter if you woke up like right before this call, right? What's done is done. It's already passed. Like I mentioned it here, like I don't care if you woke up late. I don't care if you skipped the gym, like ate fried chicken while on a diet. Like what's already happened has happened. You're doing yourself a disservice. Like nothing positive comes from speaking negatively about yourself, right? You're literally just wasting more time and energy doing so. So like during that time, like you're beating yourself up, you might as well be like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'll beat myself up maybe like an hour from now. Like, can I just procrastinate on that from beating myself up? Like I'll do that at the end of the day. And let me just take action first, right? Like I'm wasting time like doing that. So instead, like just take that guilt to feel. And I didn't put it on here, but I do something called like reverse procrastination. So every time like I feel bad about it, I'm just gonna procrastinate on that. Like, oh, I want to speak negatively. Okay, cool. Like, can I like assign that task like at 9 p.m. at night? Like, can I just like block it off later? Like do that later? Like, let me just focus on this first, right? So take that guilt that you feel, translate it to actually moving in the right direction, because it just doesn't help if you do, right? If you speak negatively or like weigh on yourself. Okay. That's the first thing that you'll have to understand, especially over the next couple of weeks here. Debbie, you also mentioned confidence, right? A lot of people struggle with confidence. Confidence, like I mentioned before, comes from the undeniable truth that we are who we say we are, right? And so if we're trying to reinforce an identity trait about ourselves, it comes from the actions that we make. And if we look at the root word, the etymology of words, like the history of how it was created, the word identity, it comes down to two things from Latin. One, entity, meaning like a being, like a living thing, and then identical, which is like repeated, right? There's a lot of copies of it. So identity is quite literally repeated beingness. So if we change the way we speak, we're going to change the way we think. What we are is what we do, right? I even made like a funny picture to describe this. So if you think about this, like what you're experiencing even today, what you mentioned on the call once you hopped on was cognitive dissonance, right? Actions, they're like a voting system. Right now, honestly, it's probably not even this even. Like I definitely wasn't. Like I was like, man, it was like not even an argument like where I was, but like you right now is like right here, right? Like it's not happy. Like you know you could do more, and this is your goal, right? But obviously, like it's outscaled because for the past 27 years, you've stacked this behavior and you've stacked this identity. So it's no wonder that you believe that this about yourself, right? When I offered the call, like it's no wonder that you said like you were hesitant about waking up at that time because that's what you believe about yourself, right? And it's really hard to not believe about that yourself because you've proven to yourself that that's the type of person you are, right? So in order to change this, we have to start moving in a different direction. Again, it's easier said than done, but that's why, like I mentioned this, you're gonna make thousands of mistakes. I think I said this to myself, like I memorized this like within a day because I just said it like 1,000 times to myself because I just kept on going back to video games and I kept on going back to scrolling on my phone, right? So remind yourself, like you are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. If it's like 5 seconds ago, you can even do that, right? And you're just constantly reminding yourself, right? Eventually, like you'll start to do it less and less, and you'll eventually become like that'll become first nature, right? Because we can't change our first thought, but we can change our second. So this dissonance that you're feeling, completely normal, right? You're going to feel uncomfortable when your behavior doesn't align with your values or beliefs. Like when you're going against 27 years of behavior and identity that you've built, people like to be consistent, right? That's why there's something called the consistency bias. It's really hard to break that because we want to be consistent with our behavior. It's even more harder to break that when you're surrounded by people who hold you to that identity. So I don't know about you, but like a couple years ago, I was only surrounding myself with people like me, playing video games like 12 hours a day, right? Like doing much, right? I think that was the hardest thing for me to do, but it was the best thing I did because every time I was surrounding myself with them, I would almost be encouraged to show that type of behavior and I'd be encouraged to be that type of person. And so like I would want to like it would be very difficult for me to choose a different direction because that's my environment, right? Again, what we talked about influence, We're influenced by everything around us, right? So who you are today, right now, like it's probably someone who's been a procrastinator the entire life, right? Someone who's an anxious person, someone who lacks confidence, someone who always breaks promises, even to yourself, right? So by going against this identity that you want to create, aka like you being in this program, like you actually committing to this 100%, you're actively going against human nature's shitty bias for consistency, right? Your brain wants consistency because it's safe. So just to give you a context here, there's something called the amygdala in your brain. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's responsible for threat detection, right? And it was useful like maybe 100,000 years ago, where there were like actual lions, like you were going to die, right? It's a primal fear. But now it's like the fear of like procrastination. Like it's like that task is scary to you. Like starting and like that fear of like failing and that fear of judgment, that fear of like embarrassment, that's scary to you, right? And so your brain, if we had to pick one primary responsibility for the brain, it'd be keeping you safe, right? And so if your main responsibility for your brain is to keep you safe, you're going to procrastinate. Like that's what's going to happen. And so if you listen to this, remember that you'll just consistently be the same person, right? Never improving. And so we have to begin to believe other things about ourselves, hold ourselves accountable through like you've met the accountability, you've been the accountability lead. And remember what I said about influence at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make our environment a way that it creates success naturally, where we don't have to think about what behavior that we want to do. It's just like we naturally move in that direction. I can give you an example. Like, let's say like I charge my phone at the end of the room, like near my door, right? Once I get up, like, and I shut that alarm, like that physical distance between like me and my door, like me and the bed, it's a lot easier to open the door, right? I'm already at the door. Like I might as well just open the door, or I can walk back and go to the bed. So like that simple action is like it's like one more step, one more layer, which makes it easier for me to open the door and go to the washroom and brush my teeth than to go back to bed and then like snooze, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about like specific examples for your life because everyone's different, but that could be an example for mine. And so I go over 2 mindset shifts as well, especially for the negative mindsets and like thinking, like putting ourselves almost in like a bottle. So I'd highly recommend you check this out. I'll send the link over to you just after this as well. And now we can talk about actionable systems to use starting today. So have you heard of implementation intentions?
Yes.
Perfect. So creating a plan, right? Multiple studies show that with a clear plan, you're more likely to follow through. So you don't have to think about it or make decisions at a time. All you need to do is take action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this isn't the only system that you want to use, because I don't know about you, but I've made plans before and I just don't follow through, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely get that. But this is the first step, right? Having clarity is going to help you so much more than if you didn't. So people are going to say like, I have to do this, or I'm going to do this, right? Or use a to-do list, but never when or where they're actually going to do it, right? So the reason I asked you even today about the MIT, but getting really specific, is because I want you to get very clear on exactly what you need to do. So it reduces the amount of friction. Because the more you have to think about it, let's say you blocked out 90 minutes and it's like work on like that task, right? And then you have to like actually think about it, like what you're going to work on for like 5-10 minutes. It makes it a lot easier for you to procrastinate because you get overwhelmed and you get lost in that thought process. Mm-hmm. So you'll leave it up to chance, hoping you get motivated at the right time, which I'm sure you realize motivation, it's not very consistent. So here's why it doesn't work, right? There's going to be 3 options. Option 1, you forget it. Like you say you're going to do it and you just forget it, right? Option 2 is you get overwhelmed and you just confuse yourself even more, leading to procrastination, right? Because of what I mentioned, your brain feels unsafe. Number 3 is you remember and you do get the work done, but you still lose because you just spent so much energy, so much time and brain power to recall that information and motivate yourself. Like you just took 10 minutes to get yourself out of bed from scrolling, so much brain power to sit down and start doing it. And you're just going to burn yourself out. Like you're going to find yourself being tired at like 4 p.m. Right. Mm-hmm. So either way, like even if you can do the work, you're still losing because you're tiring yourself out. So a lot of times people think it's a lack of motivation. Really, it's a lack of clarity, right? when the moment of action occurs, there's no need for a decision. You already know what you're going to do, right? Even if you have to adapt, you can adapt easily. Just carry out your plans, right? So what I like to do is something called temptation bundling. So after I wake up, like I'll immediately go brush my teeth, right? After I shower, like I'll charge my phone on the opposite side of my room, right? I've been doing this consistently for the past 2 years. Like I don't remember the last time I scrolled my bed. It's been so long. And then the second concept that I want to talk about for actionable systems is consistency before intensity. So right now, Debbie, I'm going to assume like you're motivated, like you're feeling good, like you just started this program and like you're ready to crush it, right? But I'm going to tell you this: start with 30 to 50% of your dream goal before you like ramp it up. Let's say like you want to work out, like your dream goal is like you're working out 6 days a week, like you're crushing it, right? You're waking up at 6 a.m., right? But that leap from like 11 a.m. to 6 a.m. is huge, right? Like you might be able to do that for like a couple days, but let's be real, like it's just not sustainable, right? And so start off with just 30 to 50% of your goal. I know that's not where you want to be, but start there first before being able to scale it, because we need to establish consistency before we go into any intensity. So to give you an example, like I wanted to work out 6 times a week, but I forced myself to start only like once a week. Like I hated that because I was like, at some point, like after a month, I'm like, wow, I'm seeing like no progress. Like I'm already recovered. Like after one day, like I want to go more. Like why the hell am I not going more? Right. And then like I get into that mindset where like I naturally want to do more. And then I'm like, okay, cool, Daniel, like let's go to level 2. Like let's do 2 times a week. And then like I'm still not satisfied. And so I'm like, okay, fine. Like you've proven to yourself that you're consistent for 2 weeks. Sure, I'll let you go to level 3. Right. And then level 3, and then level 4, and level 5, level 6. And then within like a span of 2 months, I went from like inconsistently going to the gym like once every couple of weeks to like 6 days a week. Right. Like, and so it's faster than you think, but you want to start off with that consistency first. Awesome. The last two here, this is going to be the number one rule for consistency, is making it fun, right? If it's fun, you're just going to do it. You don't even have to like think about doing it. Like you just be reminded because you're rewarded for it. So if you can gamify your life as much as possible, that's going to be the goal, right? If you're enjoying like everything that you do and like you're actually making good progress, that's the best thing that you can ask for, right? People often like they do that like argument between like, would you rather be rich and like do something you hate, or like do something you love and like be poor or something like that, right? Like if you can make your life a game where like you do get rich, but you're able to make it fun and like you actually enjoy it, then like, you're winning, right? You're hitting all these goals that you want, but you're actually enjoying your life. Like you're not just being depressed at the end of the day. So you can check out the gamification concept as well that I made. It's in number 4 of the 4 mistakes that procrastinators make. And then here's some more examples of temptation bundling.
Hello. Welcome to the Leveraging Absolute Focus module to get 8 to 10 hours of work done in 2 to 4, become indistractable, and naturally succeed through environment crafting. So this training is going to help you become indistractable and also condense time in an increasingly distracting world. AI, social media, games, news. You must learn to focus if you want to achieve anything great. And aside from time, focus is arguably our greatest resource that we have. If you can't focus on your goals, you can't expect to get results. So how can you unlock a flow state level of focus? Here are some of the foundational principles. Firstly, what is the difference between general focus, which is probably in your situation, and absolute focus? General focus is shallow work. It's anyone can do it and it's low value. It's because we fragment our focus into bursts of motivation because of distractions, because we're getting phone notifications, because we're checking the fridge when we're hungry, because we're going on short walks and we're spreading it out, right? And we begin to think that being busy or being hardworking is productive, which is just not true. It doesn't make sense that if you're taking more emails, if you're taking more meetings, or you're spending more time in something is a success. It just doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, the hardest worker in the room does not get rewarded if they aren't focused and prioritizing the right things. Instead of focusing on general focus, utilize absolute focus. It's deep work and it's flow state. It's becoming distractionless. It's high quality of work in half the time. It frees up your time to actually work on your business. Hang out with your friend, spend time with your family, and also stay ahead of the competition because you're productive. It's a massive opportunity for those capable of utilizing this skill. So, how do you prioritize using absolute focus? And I talk about how you can use absolute focus later on. But first, we need to cover how to prioritize correctly. This is an Eisenhower matrix, an Eisenhower grid, but you'll notice that these two squares are different. It's flipped. The first task that you want to focus on is in this low urgency and high importance tasks. You want to do this first because these tasks will further your life the most. It's investing into your future, your business, content creation, writing a book, exercise, professional development. None of these have a hard deadline. It's not urgent, but it's the one that's going to move the needle in your life and your career the most. The second thing is the high urgency and high importance things. These you do after the low urgency, high importance things, because now these have pressing deadlines. So here, these are examples, client projects. Maybe it's articles or papers that you have to read or write. It's important emails. Maybe you have a kid, it's picking them up from school, right? The third column is high urgency and low importance tasks. These are the tasks that, if possible, you want to delegate, but if you can't, then you want to delay it for as long as possible. These are the things that take up your time, right? And you want to delay it to later during the day because it's just not worth your time to prioritize. These are things like emails, meal prep, cleaning. It's small tasks that don't require much brain power. A lot of the times people do productive procrastination where they clean their room for 4 hours. It's not being productive. It might feel good because you did it. It's just not a good use of your time. It's not how you're going to get successful. Number 4 is low urgency and low importance. These are the things that you want to delete from your life. These are things that won't further you at all, so you want to eliminate them. It just weighs you down. It can be okay to use them, obviously, because we're human, but only in moderation. These are things like social media, watching TV, video games, eating junk food, all the things that don't really help our life, but can be okay in moderation. So here, we want to pick only three most important tasks each day. These are tasks that genuinely move the needle in your business, your career, or your life. You can think with this mindset. If I only had 1 week left to make the greatest impact on this one thing, what would I do? Then pick only 3 tasks. The reason I say 3 tasks is because it's to leverage prioritization, focus, and consistency while also preventing burnout and procrastination. I understand a lot of you have crazy schedules and have an endless sea of tasks. I do too. But it's just not sustainable to constantly be in peak performance all the time. You're just going to burn out and it doesn't help you long term. So consistently complete your 3 most important tasks. This will lead to consistent high impact growth. 2% better every day. Here's a pro tip. Once you have your 3 most important tasks, physically write them down on a sticky note so that you are absolutely clear on what you need to be focused on for the day and what needs to be done. So you're constantly reminded. It sounds simple, sounds easy, but it makes a world of a difference. Second concept is becoming indistractable. So how do you actually get 8 to 10 hours of work done in 2 to 4 hours? That sounds crazy, doesn't it? Well, this is exactly how. Crafting your environment. The whole concept of discipline is just widely misunderstood. A lot of the times, most people, firstly, would agree that discipline is being able to do the difficult things even when you don't want to, right? But most people also believe that it's about willpower. It's about forcing yourself, pushing yourself to perform despite you feeling terrible. You're tired, you're unmotivated, you don't want to do it. It just doesn't work that way, right? Believing that we have enough willpower each day, every single day, to push ourselves to do something that we just hate, that we don't enjoy, is unsustainable. Maybe 1% of the world can do that, but still, it doesn't work, right? There will be times when you need to use willpower, when you need to push yourself and give you that little burst of motivation to push yourself forward and create momentum. But the goal here is to use it as little as possible. Why? Here's 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, you try to use willpower and you force yourself to do X task. Let's say going to the gym. but you're tired, you're hungry, and it feels overwhelming, so you don't go. The result, you procrastinate on your task, going to the gym. And then you become inconsistent, and then you hate yourself. Scenario two is that you try to use willpower and you force yourself to do this task, right? Going to the gym. Same situation. You're tired, you're hungry, and you feel overwhelmed, but somehow you're able to motivate yourself. Somehow you push yourself to go and get it done. Feels great, but you still lose in the long run because you use such a tremendous amount of brain power, energy, and time to motivate yourself to do a task, which just leads to burnout, like I mentioned in the last module. It leads to a lack of focus and it leads to inconsistency. When the argument is time now. When will the time be where you don't want to do it? Where you go back to scenario one, where you eat unhealthy foods, where you just crash, where you sleep at 4 a.m. and the entire system, the entire progress that you've built just crashes down. Instead of risking that, focus on putting yourself in an environment that makes success natural to achieve. There's thousands of case studies on this, on nature versus nurture, on the influence of the environment. People naturally bend to whatever they're surrounded with, physically, spiritually, mentally, right? Thousands of case studies. Everything here influences us. And 80% of it happens unconsciously. So don't put yourself in an environment where you're easily distracted. Craft your environment, craft the surrounding, people, digital environment, people around you, physical environment for your success so that you're naturally encouraged to do what needs to be done, to move in the right direction, to move in the best direction for you. To do this, you can utilize the 3Ds of productivity. The first, delete. Just get rid of it. If it's not helping you, again, it's weighing you down. Clean your messy room. Delete distracting apps. Get rid of your junk food. Cut off your energy draining relationships, right? Imagine you're trying to lose weight. Imagine that you have chips on your counter every time. It's your favorite type of chips, and you walk by it about 100 times a day. Sooner or later, you're going to give in. Sooner or later, you're going to fall, right? So in the first place, if you can, just get rid of it. It's just not helping you. Number two, distance. It's when you need something, but not at the moment. For example, your phone. You don't need your phone the entire day. Well, I hope you don't. But let's say you don't. Distance your phone, right? Put it away for the moment. For 2 hours, just have a locked in focus session or go to the library, right? Let's say your household is extremely loud, it's messy, it's disorganized, and there's things all over the place and it's hard to focus. Put yourself in a different environment. Go to a library instead of working from home. Put on some noise canceling headphones and focus. Number three, the delay. If you need to have something or you need to do something, then create intervals during the day. For example, creating intervals to check emails for work or turning off notifications so you can check it on your own time. Utilize these systems to leverage absolute focus. Again, become indistractable and actually get the task that you need to done. Cool. I'll see you in the next module. Hey, welcome to the environment crafting module. This is an extension of the leveraging absolute focus module, and it's to help you design success to happen naturally, right? So to start us off, I want to go over the concept of the product of our environment, right? As humans, we have about 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Only 5 to 10% of them are conscious, and 80% of those conscious thoughts, they're unfortunately negative, right? And so you want to craft your environment so it best supports you in that positive feedback loop, right? Let me give you an examples of things that could be affecting you, right? In your day-to-day life, things that are like your room. If it's cluttered and messy, it's going to subconsciously affect you and your performance. For example, your environment where you constantly hear bad news, that's going to affect you, right? Or your friends, right? Your network. If your friends are always gaming, they're lazy or living a carefree life, that's also going to affect you and how you continue to live your life as well. So diving a little bit into your physical workspace here, you want to become the designer of your life, not a consumer of it or a victim, right? So here, every habit should have what we call a home. And what we mean by that is one space is equal to one use. For example, when you start mixing contexts, right, you start mixing habits, the easier one will always win. For example, if you're on your bed, right, you're trying to study, the easier option is for you to go to bed, get really comfortable, and maybe watch a TV show or open up a movie, whatever it is. When you're in those environments where you give yourself an option, you go to one that's more easier and more comfortable, right? Even if you don't, and let's say even if you do have that willpower to quote unquote stay disciplined, why make it harder for yourself, right? Let's take that energy and then take that brain power that you have to stay disciplined using willpower and use that into getting more stuff done and executing at a high level in your tasks, right? So here's some examples, right? If you're in your living room and you have a television or work, the TV is likely going to win. The kitchen, if you have a bag of chips and Oreos versus fruits, most likely, junk food's going to win. Or you can replace this with like fried chicken or whatever your favorite food is, right? If it's your bedroom, right? If your bedroom is your workroom, then there's no distinctions, right? The easier one is going to win, which is laziness and when you're feeling tired. Okay. The second thing I want to go over is your digital workspace, right? Your electronics, they can do anything, right? You want to be productive, but you're conditioned to browse social media, you check emails, play video games, message your friends, and use it for mainly dopamine-inducing content, right? So here you want to leverage the 3Ds that we talked about in the previous module and go through as well the crushing phone addiction module, because I go very, very in depth on the exact systems that I use for my PC as well as my phone and any other devices that I use. Okay. To dive a little bit deeper into some of the questions that you might have, right? Let's say you live in an apartment or you live in a dorm where you simply just don't have the space, right, to have these distinctions, right? Then that's fair enough, right? You can divide your room into what we call activity zones, right? A chair for reading, a desk for work, a table for specifically eating, right? If you want stable habits and you want stable results and behaviors, you need an environment that's also stable and predictable. If it's always dynamic and you're putting yourself in those rooms where things overlap, the easier one will win. All right, most likely. So I want to dive a little bit and touch just a tiny bit on the 4 laws of behavior change. And we can totally talk about this in our coaching calls. For the 4 laws of behavior change is really simple. It goes cue, craving, response, and reward. So I put an example. This is straight from Atomic Habits, by the way. But here he talks about the cue, which is something that reminds you, right? Something that reminds you to do a certain action. Like craving is something that's you want to, you crave that action, right? The third thing is what he calls the solution phase, which is your response. What do you do once you get the cue and craving, right? Once you see that a bag of chips, right, and you want that bag of chips, what do? Well, you naturally grab that bag of chips and start eating it, right? And you reward yourself by having good tasting food, right? And so if you want to change your habits, you should understand these 4 laws, right? To forge good habits, you want to take those 4 principles and you want to first make it obvious, right? If you have to work on a business proposal, or maybe you're expanding your leadership team and you're hiring for team members, right? Make it obvious, right? You can put on your laptop as soon as you wake up. It's already open to the tabs that you wanted, right? Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it super simple so you have a clear plan of what exactly you need to be executing. So it's very attractive. And the response, it's super easy, right? It's already open in your laptop. You can get the work done as soon as you wake up and you don't really have to think about it. And lastly, make it satisfying. This is the example that I went with is like the business hiring, right? You're satisfied because you feel a sense of accomplishment. You just finished your most important task for the day and intrinsically you feel better, right? So when creating these habits, if these cues are subtle or they're hidden or things like those, they're obviously more easier to ignore. So the question you want to ask yourself here when creating these good habits and putting yourself in an environment that's distraction-free is, what can I do to make my environment, whether it's mental or spiritual or physical, to make my environment distraction-free? What can I do to basically make these small changes around me so it naturally allows me to choose actions that lead to my success, right? Here, I'm just going to dive a little bit on this. is make the cue obvious and important, right? If you want to make a habit a big part of your life, make it obvious and important, right? If you want to get more persistent behaviors, then have more cues, right? Make the cue a big part of your environment, right? And make many triggers and cues if you want this behavior to happen more often, right? And lastly is you want to ensure the best choice is the most obvious one, right? The same concept of what's easier than, for example, choosing social media over getting some work done for your business or school. Your mind is always going to go over to the easier one, especially when we're more tired. We're feeling lazy. We had a rough day, right? You're not thinking clearly, and you don't have the willpower in that state to, enact that, quote unquote discipline for you to force yourself to do that, right? And even if you could, it's not going to be sustainable, right? And then lastly, same goes for breaking bad habits. If you want to break a habit, then you got to make it invisible, make it attractive, make it difficult to do, and make it unsatisfying. I go over this in the phone addiction module for specifically social media addiction, as well as your PC. And I'd love to dive more into the coaching calls with this for your specific lifestyle because it's different for everyone. So make sure to bring this on to the coaching calls. And that's it for this module. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Designing your inner circle of like-minded high performers is one of the best things that you could possibly do that will literally change the trajectory of where your life is headed. 10, 20, 30 years from now, the choices that you make today with who you surround yourself with will make all the difference. The objective of here and the objective of environment crafting as a whole is to make success natural. Make your dream life happen naturally. The reason why this is so important is because our identity is being molded every single day by everything and everyone around you. We have, as humans, about 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, 85% of them which are unconscious, and that 85% makes a huge difference, right? So put yourself in positions, surround yourself with people so you can passively go in the direction you want your life to head in. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know and what these people are doing around you. Now, I've split up 3 different types of people in the lens of purely high performance. Okay, so type 1 is about 85% of the world's population. It's people who are comfortable with where they are and they don't want to grow much and are happy with where they are and the speed at which they're growing. Type 2 is the 10% of people who do want to grow. They are ambitious and you're likely in this 10%. But the people in the 10% must be extremely careful of not listening to what the 85% of people say, right? They're going to be telling you, you don't need to put yourself so hard. You got to take it easy. That business is going to be so hard. Good luck, right? Now, here is what you need to do and what you need to listen to if you want to further your high performance lifestyle. Type 3 is the 5% of people who hold themselves to a high standard. People who push themselves to be the absolute best version of themselves, impacting lives, extremely ambitious, disrupting industries, and creating memorable change. This is the group that you should be listening to if you want to increase your potential and the results that you're able to create. So forge your inner circle amongst this group. And there is a difference, right? You might think this is cold or this is being selfish, but it's actually selfless because there's a difference between being reliable and being taken advantage of, right? Being compassionate and being a literal doormat to everyone around you, right? There's a difference between being cooperative and being unable to say no. The reason why successful people are able to go and scale up higher and higher is not because they're taking everything around them and surrounding themselves with everyone. It's because they're able to say no and they're able to limit the options that they're having. So they're able to focus on a select few. Find the 5% of people, just 1 or 2 people, 3 people, a small group of inner circle, and focus on them. Grow with them at insanely fast speeds, right? Being a people pleaser, it's honestly a disservice to everyone around you. Begin to prioritize yourself to orient yourself to the highest good or the highest potential that is the most selfless thing that you can possibly do. Because when you have a full bucket, you're able to constantly grow and you're able to give so much more to everyone around you that you love and adore, right? I treat others with kindness, love, and appreciation that they're in my life, but I need to understand the difference between people that I should be friends with or people that I should be acquainted with and people that I want to grow alongside with that are who are going to fight with me and who are going to push me to be the absolute best version of myself. Welcome. So this module is designed to help you eliminate procrastination completely. So the first thing that you want to do is ensure that all your distractions are put away first. And here you want to recall what I taught you in the absolute focus modules, right? But when you starve your distraction and feed your focus, what you'll find is you'll free yourself from that heavy burden. Okay. And this freedom, it's going to give you the time and energy to actually be creative and be productive, right? You'll be able to get things done and achieve your dreams and goals in lightning speed. Okay. Begin taking action on your life and creating what we call non-negotiable habits to actually develop discipline and success. Okay. Here, I want you to go with the mindset of the 80-20 rule or 20-80 rule, right? 20% of your time and your focus should be spent learning, right? Going through these modules and whatever. 80% of the time should be spent actually taking action, experimenting, getting results, and getting feedback. And why is this module so important? Well, because taking action so you strive to improve 1% better every day is what will get you results, right? It's not bursts of motivation that everyone has, right? That's going to leave you lost and it's going to leave you feeling like a quitter. Okay. You might be wondering, is it even possible, Daniel, to improve 1% better every day, right? Consistently? Well, to be honest, it's not because we're not perfect. But if we were to get better 1% every day for 5 days a week for 1 year, we would actually be 10 times better than the person we were when we first started. And it gives us about 6 weeks to be non-productive, literally doing nothing, right? And remember, procrastination, it's just a coping mechanism, right? It can stem from many things like perfectionism, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, even things like the fear of success, right? Being unable to sustain that. Okay. So here, take massive imperfect action, right? Make it your identity to take action regardless of the fear and regardless of the situation. All right. So let's go over the 6 steps to actually completely eliminate procrastination, actually execute your highest priority goals, and get back a minimum of 15 hours every week. But really, again, we're aiming for 20 to 25 hours a week. Okay. Number 1, having a clear vision and ensuring you have a strong why. We should have already done this in module 1.0. Okay. Number 2, eliminating distractions and actually minimizing the interruptions and making sure that you're able to leverage absolute focus. Okay. Number 3 is utilizing a planning system. Okay. Again, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to get random results. Okay. You have to get clear on exactly what you're going to be doing and where your time is actually going, because what gets measured, it gets improved. Okay. Don't spend your entire day planning, of course. It only takes about 2 to 3 minutes. I recommend Google Calendars, and you can do examples such as this, right? Here's some basic examples. This is a little bit of a mid to higher level one. And if you already use Google Calendars, you want to just use it more effectively, ask me during our live coaching calls. You can screen share and I'll walk you through exactly what I would do in your situation. Okay. Number 4, using selective focus to actually follow your priorities, right? Again, leveraging absolute focus. What are your most important tasks? Okay. Number 5 is taking active breaks to actually refresh. For example, taking walks, stretching, getting some fresh air, stepping away from the screen, right? The worst thing that you can possibly do is waste time just sitting there brainlessly, quote unquote, working when no work is getting done, right? You're unproductive. Get up from your desk, take a 25-minute break, whatever it is, refresh yourself and get back into it to have another absolute focus session. Okay. And for last, it's the action item, right? Don't waste time worrying about anything outside of the top 5, which you're going to fill out. For example, even if there's an opportunity to work on another goal, right? Resist it and stick to your set 5 priorities. Okay. I'll go over it in the action items later. All right, here are some additional strategies as well, systems to actually combat procrastination and boost your productivity. First is a 2-minute rule, right? If it takes less than 2 minutes to do a task, then do it immediately just to get that out of your head so you can focus on the bigger picture, right? Things that are left undone or things that are constantly overwhelming in your head, it's going to take up your brain, it's going to take up space, and it's going to drain you of your energy. If it takes less than 2 minutes, just knock it out, do it immediately. Okay, 5-minute rule. For longer tasks that you have, you want to tell yourself you'll only do it for 5 minutes. This will get you through the most challenging part of the task, which is starting. Again, and if you feel like you're lying to yourself, you know you're only going to be doing it for you're going to be doing it for more than 5 minutes. What I would actually encourage you to do is stop after 5 minutes. You only do it for 5 minutes, and you force yourself to stop. Eventually, you'll get to a place where you've already overcome the starting, right? You've already overcome the hardest part of the task of starting. And now that you're forcing yourself to stop, you're naturally going to want to continue. Okay. Establishing non-negotiables, right? Referring to module 1.0, it's a good opportunity as well to refresh your mindset and ensure that you have your goals and habits on paper, right? Read it, write it down at least twice a day. Okay. Here, leverage accountability. Okay. And never negotiate with your mind, right? You're never going to win. You have to just take action, right? If there's always a choice between what's comfortable and what's easy versus what you should be doing, you're always going to be doing what's comfortable and easy. Okay. It goes back to environment crafting, right? Set clear non-negotiables. For example, in the morning, when you wake up, your brain is not thinking straight. It will tell you to go back to bed, right? But you have to create the non-negotiable. You have to take action. Okay. The fourth thing is paralysis by analysis, right? How many of you have been stuck, just overwhelmed, that constant anxiety, the pressure of having so much to do, right? What we're doing is we're thinking about mile 856 in a 1,000-mile journey when we're only on step 14, right? We're just starting out. We're just building the foundations. What you need to focus on is actually moving, is taking imperfect action, right? Stop trying to create a perfect plan, because more often than not, we're telling ourselves that we're planning because we're just scared to actually take action. All right, let's face it. So break it down into tiny wins, get moving, right? 3, 2, 1, physically move, get started. Ready, fire, aim as well. Again, do a little planning, research, and preparation. Fire, just go for it, test it out, put yourself, fail, right? Just do it. And then aim, once you fire, you'll get the feedback. And again, I said this before, the faster you fail, the faster you can learn and the faster you'll win. All right. And lastly is putting the pressure on yourself, right? Creating deadlines, leveraging the professional accountability that you get from your accountability partners, the accountability group that you have, the members of the On Purpose Accelerator, and of course, me as your coach, right? And you can send a message in daily action as well as your accountability groups about your most important tasks of the week and the most important tasks of the day, what you'll do as well if you don't take action and start on those tasks immediately. If you struggle as well with doing the boring things, right, that must get done, then I'd love to talk about this more on our coaching call, as well as your action items for the next module. So that's everything for this, and I'll see you in the next. Welcome to the bonus procrastination module, where I go over the 4 biggest mistakes that I see procrastinators make. Okay. The objective of this is to understand why you're procrastinating and actually have some steps to prevent it before it even happens. All right. Number 1 is real versus fake procrastination, right? Real procrastination is when we have the time, but we don't do it. Okay. Fake procrastination is when we're actually busy and we prioritize other things that are in our most important tasks, right? Why do we procrastinate? Well, firstly, you aren't a procrastinator, right? It's simply a coping mechanism. What I mean by this is that it's your brain, specifically what we call the amygdala, right? It's our brain trying to protect you, right? When you realize you have to reach out to prospective clients, finish a business project, build a product, your brain responds like it would any other threat, right? Again, amygdala, it's a part of our brain that processes our emotions and threat identification. For example, when we're in this position, it goes into a fear response, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. And often we go into freeze or flight, right? We procrastinate to avoid the threat. these tasks, the reason why we do is because it's perceived as stressful. It's perceived as something challenging or scary, right? Which causes you to push them off even more. And it encourages that behavior because you feel good in the moment, right? That's why people procrastinate for their entire lives, because it temporarily reduces stress levels and it reinforces procrastination as a natural response. So here, now that you understand how procrastination works, why it's happening, let's go into a little bit deeper first and then give you some actionable steps. Okay, procrastination, it's just the surface level, right? Look deeper. It comes from fear of failure, fear of judgment, rejection, loneliness, right? The fear of the unknown, fear of risk, maybe the fear of success, right? You're scared that you might not be able to sustain it. Okay. Number two is the I just need to paradox, right? Saying things like, I just need to sit down and do it. I just need to try harder. I just need to focus, work more, stop going on my phone. This one was a huge one for me, was I just need to get back into that state of focus I was in before, right? I've done it before. Why can't I do it now? Well, unfortunately, this is just another form of procrastination. We're making excuses, right? We're making it seem easier than it really is, right? And it's not a sustainable way to live or be productive. Okay. So create a working system or working systems that actually reduces it or gets rid of your procrastination. Okay. Third thing is motivation. Where does that even come from? Right? Does it come before action or after action? Well, people with procrastination tendencies, they typically wait for motivation before they take action. And that's a huge mistake, right? It rarely works and it only creates inconsistency and that feeling of being a quitter, right? When the motivation runs out. Okay. You're not going to achieve consistency with this mindset. What we need to do is we must take action before motivation, right? Taking action, regardless of how you feel in that moment, it literally creates more action. And as well, it creates more motivation because you're in that momentum, right? You build it. Okay. Again, I've said this time and time again, action creates more action. Inaction creates more inaction, right? Starting is the hardest part. Sweet. So in terms of boring tasks, right? You might be asking, Daniel, what about the things that we feel are just so boring, right? So useless, something that we just have to do, right? Here, you want to stop pushing the boulder up the hill, right? Now, before we dive in, ask yourself, why am I actually doing this? How useful is it for me? Does it align with my values? If it does, then we should be treating it like a gift, right? Not like a chore. It should be like an opportunity for you to get better, for you to grow, right? Here are some actionable steps, right? What can I do, right? Going back to that mindset of ownership. What can I do to make it more fun? Here, I go over what's called the Octalysis framework. It's a book that goes over the concept of gamification. Okay, so the first thing is finding epic meaning, and what they mean by this is find meaning in what you're here to do, right? Like you're here to do something great, and you were chosen for a specific reason, right? Number two, translating your work into accomplishments, right? Think experience bar or progress bar, right? In those video games that we've all played, I'm sure we have. Right? For example, added 5 pounds to my bench press, right? Added 2 minutes to my plank. That's quite a lot, but leveling up, right? Waking up energized almost every day, right? You're leveling up, you're making wins, right? And then number three, finding more creative ways to go about it, right? Trying different combinations, figuring things out, changing them up so you get the same results or you get better results in many different ways, right? Number four is ownership and possession. And this specifically, right, in a game, when a player feels ownership, they innately want to make whatever they own better, right? Make their character better, buy them gear, buy them clothes, buy them abilities, right? Whatever it is, and own even more, right? Continuing to refine your character. Right now, my life, in the real life, it feels like a video game, right? I'm upgrading myself physically, mentally, learning from my own mentors and people I look up to as well. So I'm continuously refining myself, right? Number five is social influence and relatedness. This, you want to craft your social circle, which I made a module on. And the quote here that you want to come realize is, we do become the average of the 5 people we spend the most amount of time with, right? It's true. when you see a friend who's amazing at something, you automatically become driven to reach that same level, right? You feel that sense of, I want to be like this person, right? I want to be like the others around me. Okay. Number 6, scarcity and impatience, right? This is the drive of wanting something because you can't have it or you haven't achieved it, right? You want to work for it. However, if you get everything that you ever wanted, right, sooner or later, you're likely going to be miserable. It's no wonder that a lot of millionaires, people with a lot of money, they get depressed, right? This is why it's also so important to fall in love with the journey, right? Not the destination. The person who loves the journey, they walk further than the person who loves the destination, right? Number 7, unpredictability and curiosity. It's usually a harmless drive to discover like what's going to happen next, right? Get comfortable with change, get comfortable with being uncomfortable and being the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen next, right? And lastly is using the fear of loss to achieve goals, right? People are 2 times, right, or even up to 10 times more motivated to fight harder when they have a fire or a pain behind them, right? Suddenly, there's 0 excuses, right? The example that I gave in my first module, right? Making $50,000 in 30 days for our dream vacation, right? Or making $50,000 in the next 30 days to save your loved one, right? This one you're going to do. Okay. And lastly, building habits and building routines and overcoming procrastination, it's going to take time, right? Keep consistent, keep experimenting. There is no one size fits all, which is why we have the coaching calls and which is why I want you to bring all your questions that you have. And I want to help you learn to actually enjoy this process, right? Learn to enjoy the journey. Okay. Like I mentioned before, the one who loves walking will walk further than the one who loves the destination, right? Another thing that's interesting is traditionally people thought procrastinators, they needed discipline and strict time management, right? That's actually the exact opposite of what you want to be doing when you're first starting, right? Being too hard on yourself, it can actually layer more negativity onto a task, which again makes the threat even more intense, right? I explained how procrastination works. And so from here on, I want you to go through every module very carefully, right? Focus on the implementation. 20% should be learning, 80% should be action, right? Breaking tasks into small goals, creating simple systems to actually beat procrastination and prevent it from happening for good, right? Journaling, introspection, taking ownership of your situation, of your life, and then crafting your environment, right? This is probably one of the most important modules, right? The 6 main modules I've created are the absolute essentials. So master them first before moving on to any other questions that you have. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our next coaching call. And peace out. Our bodies naturally want a routine. So this module is designed to give you a high-level overview of exactly how to structure your morning to ensure maximum productivity and effectiveness, right? The objective is to help you wake up feeling consistently full of energy, ready to start your day off with wins that actually set you up for success. You've probably heard me say this multiple times throughout this program. Action creates more action. Inaction creates more inaction. So win your morning and you win your day and create that momentum. All right. So here are some of the foundational principles. Your start of the day routine, you want to keep this simple. Your goal is to cut out the fat, right? And begin executing immediately. So the first thing I do is using the 3-second rule. 3, 2, 1, go. Get up. Don't hit snooze, right? There is no chance for you to negotiate and there is no other option that you allow yourself to be lazy, to be unproductive, right? Starting something is the hardest part. So you want to reduce the amount of decisions that you have to make and just go for it. Going from inaction to action, right? You can imagine rolling a big snowball of inaction, that's you sleeping, and you have to destroy that to create a new snowball of action, right? That's the hardest part. But once you do, you'll realize that things start to fall into place, right? And every day you have what I call a win meter, right? It restarts and resets every day. And it starts with your choice of starting off with a win or a loss, waking up in the morning with 1 alarm or hitting snooze 10 times and going back to bed. It's your choice, right? Number 2 is 1 cup of water, right? As soon as you wake up, stand up. And that's a must do because you want to get out of bed and you want to build that momentum. and then immediately drink 1 cup of water within the first 1 minute or so of turning off your alarm, right? And this is ideally poured the night before. Okay. The reason why we do this is because our body is dehydrated from the long sleep. And so this will actually instantly energize you and kind of reboot your system. All right. Number 3 is physical priming. This is going to help you boost your physical energy. So the first thing I like to do is circadian rhythm optimization. It's just a fancy word of getting sunlight and locking in our natural wake-up time, right? Natural light, it anchors our natural wake-up time. So within the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking up, ideally, you want to get 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight exposure. Don't look directly at the sun, but just get the photons in your eyes, right? And of physical priming, what I like to do is just stretch outside or just open the windows, open the blinds, and be able to stretch, like morning mobility trainings, things like cold showers, or what I like to do, especially when it gets cold here in Vancouver, is 30 seconds of sprinting on the spot, right? Burpees, jumping jacks, whatever it takes to warm me up and get my day started. Okay. 4th is mental priming, right? This should be no more than 5 minutes, right? At the maximum. This is setting your mental GPS, right? Writing down exactly the type of person you want to become 1 year from now. For example, one thing that I do is with God's strength, by December 31st, 2023, I'll be impacting at least 5 young and ambitious individuals every month who want to reach their highest potential, right? None of this is built for me or to glorify me or give me credit. All of this is built for the glory of Christ, because I'm a Christian and I'm a man of faith, right? Lastly is eating your frog, right? Doing the hardest thing in your day first, or your most important task that we've determined what it is the night before and in previous modules. For the first 1 to 2 hours of the day you wake up, you don't want to check your phone and you want to go straight to your most important task or your absolute focus activities, right? All of this shouldn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes, let's say at the maximum. I broke it down very specific because I want to explain to you what it is, but it really should only take 5 to 10 minutes at maximum. Okay. Remember here, these are some key points. You never want to skip a habit twice. There's always going to be off days, right? Sometimes you sleep later. Sometimes you have a really rough night or you just snooze, right? You sleep in, you have an off day. Okay. That's fine. We're aiming for progress. We're not aiming for perfection, right? Even if you fall behind, even if you have a lazy day, keep going. Find a way to get back up. Let's say you wake up at 2 p.m., right? It's extremely late. Half the day is gone. It's okay. Forget about it. You have no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago, right? What can you do now to still win the day? Okay. It's impossible to be at peak performance all the time. So that's why we're aiming on consistent long-term high performance. Okay. Make your routine as well. That's simple, enjoyable, and sustainable. I mentioned this in previous modules, but the habits that stick, the lifestyle that sticks is one that's simple and enjoyable. Okay. Another thing is trying to avoid conventional morning routines, right? You can meditate, you can read, you can journal, at least deep journaling later in the day or during the evening, right? You want to use the first few hours of your day to get started and do the work immediately. Okay. And lastly is always doing a morning routine or some sort of routine, right? Even on off days like the weekends, because your body wants to have something consistent, right? A routine. Okay. If you struggle with phone addiction, right? Especially in the mornings, I used to struggle with that a lot. Now it's completely gone, right? Keep it out of your morning routine if possible. Simply just keep it out. Okay. You can use an alarm clock if it helps, to not use your phone. Okay. Second thing is do not disturb. Even if you need your phone, you don't see any distractions. You're probably already doing this, which is why I suggest these two specific modules I created that go over the exact routines, exact focus modes, the downtimes that I use for both Apple and Samsung. And you can set intervals for your app or lock yourself out completely. And so I go through videos and I go through all the different systems I use in this module. Okay. As a bonus, here's my exact morning routine that I'm currently doing and I've been doing for the past few years now. So in the morning, wake up at 5:30, water, stretch on purpose, right? Read aloud my 5 goals. Immediately go into reading the Bible and initiating, right? Having that time with God, and even doing some more mobility training lately. I'm doing both. right? 6 a.m., I start my absolute focus session, 90 minutes. 7:30, I go to work out, and 90 minutes is including the commute time. And then come back home, 9 a.m., shower, and then 9:15 to 10 a.m., I eat breakfast, I read, I relax a little bit, and then 10 a.m., I get started with whatever other work I have. All right, sweet. That's all for this module, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Hey, welcome to the On Purpose Accelerator's Evening Mastery module. This is designed to give you a high-level overview of exactly how to structure your evening to ensure that you have a clear cutoff time, which helps you to actively prevent burnout and procrastination by creating a clear plan for tomorrow. So why is this actually important? Well, burnout, if you don't already know, it happens when we overwork ourselves for long periods of time without taking breaks, right? And if we don't take breaks, if we don't plan our breaks, our body's just going to take them for us, and it's not going to be at convenient times. So we need to develop strict cutoff times or hard stops to avoid burnout, create a routine, and ensure that we get 7 to 9 hours of sleep and much, much more. All right. A good quote here is a good morning routine starts the night before. So after you've developed that morning routine, this is a great module to check out to pair with that. So the first rule that I want to go over here before we dive into the 5-minute end of day routine is the 10-90 rule. Basically, it states the first 10% of time you spend planning and organizing your work will actually save you up to as much as 90% of your time. Basically, what that means is the more clear you are for the next day for what you're going to be doing, the more time you're able to save. That means the more time and energy you get back. Okay, so let's dive in straight into the evening routine. You want to start off with a hard cutoff. This basically means you absolutely no more work. Okay, have a wind down routine that allows you to stop all work and just relax, right? And reset and re-energize yourself for the next day. Mine, for example, starts at 7 o'clock, 7 to 9:30 p.m. or 10 p.m., whatever you want it. And this is designed to help me not burn out because I know it's the long-term game. I might have, a lot of energy at that time. I might want to do a lot more work. And there are many days like that. But you have to remember it's a long-term game and it's not just short bursts and short sprints just to get a little bit more work done. Okay. The second thing is planning out the next 24 hours of execution on your Google Calendar. You should have already started with this in the beginning modules. And I dive deeper into the on-purpose planning system as well as the second brain in the following module. But you want to plan out the next 24 hours very, very clearly. And you should hop on one of the coaching calls and break this down with me so we're both clear on what you need to be accomplishing for the next day. I go over the most important tasks in the previous module in absolute focus, as well as the morning modules. So if you aren't already doing this or if you just want to improve it, please bring this on to the coaching call so we can break it down together. Okay. The third thing is a 3-2-1 sign up rule. This isn't mandatory, but I would recommend it because it kind of reminds you how far along you're going in your journey and just taking yourself to be grateful, right? Grateful of the things that has happened and remembering to be present in the moment. So super simple. Write down 3 things you're grateful for that happened today, 2 things that you're proud of finishing today, and 1 thing that you're actually going to do to become basically 1% better than you were today. What can you do? Those little micro adjustments. Okay. 4th thing is reading aloud your main goal again. This should be done morning and evening. So it reminds you because oftentimes it's more people simply just forget what their goals are and why they even started, which is why the mindset module is so important. So read aloud your main goal and just get clear again on what this is all for and what you're striving for. What is your North Star, right? Last thing is just pouring a glass of water and setting it by your nightstand or something that's nearby so you can drink it immediately and rehydrate yourself, re-energize yourself. And that's it. That's super simple. It takes less than 5 minutes, to be honest. The cutoff time, of course, you might be seeing like 2.5 hours here. That isn't really part of the routine. It's just a cutoff. The routine here is just this, right? It takes about 5, maybe 10 minutes to do all of this. And you should be done. Super simple. Okay, the circadian rhythm optimization, it's basically just a fancy term of your natural 24-hour internal clock. So what this does is it helps with energy regulation and looking at the sun, just getting in the sunlight in your eyes at around evening time as well as the morning time, it's going to help remind your brain that, hey, the sun's going down. It's time for bed. It's time for me to kind of slow things down and relax a bit. And it's going to help you basically naturally feel tired at that specific time, which is mine around 9 or 10. Sweet. So to help with that as well is 30 to 60 minutes before you go to bed. Try to dim all the house lights, maybe just have a few yellow lights if possible, no bright white or blue light. Yeah, that's going to help a lot with just creating that natural energy. Sweet. One thing that I know a few people might struggle with is, how do we actually automate these things? How do we build these systems so it naturally occurs? And it's something that we don't have to necessarily force. One thing I'd recommend is creating what I call a trigger activity. Basically, it's anything to signal to the mind it's time to kind of switch modes, right? That work is done, right? These are some of the things that I've used in the past, as well as I'm using currently right now. Hard cutoff times, like I mentioned, phone systems, right? Crushing phone addiction, I created a module for that. I also created a screen recording, taking you through the exact phone systems that I have installed and tailored to my phone. So I have 0 work notifications, right? Work-related apps are not accessible. Takes me, I go through like a whole maze just to get through those if I do absolutely need it. Specific focus mode for sleep. So it just blocks everything and it turns everything super grayscale, dark, not very fun. Alarm clock, alarm to start off the cutoff time into silent alarm. So it just gives me like a little bit of a cue to remind me that it's 7 o'clock. It's time to kind of finish all work-related material. Okay, again, the circadian rhythm, I mentioned it before. You can do things with the phone sleep or phone systems as well, 0 notifications, only essential apps. Check out the video. I have a silent alarm as well, 30 minutes before sleep, just to give me another reminder. And I just turn off all devices at that time and kind of just lie in bed. And I have a module specifically for how to fall asleep in 2 minutes. Call it the pilot rule or the pilot's method. You can check that out as well. Some tips here is just to remember that it's progress over perfection, right? Let's say you first start this evening routine and you're only going to bed consistently, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, right? And it's been a really, really big struggle. Bring these onto the coaching calls and remember it's progress over perfection. You know, there are going to be off days, right? And it might be hard in the beginning, but we just keep working and we keep looking for it. Sweet. Second thing is making a routine. This is probably the biggest thing. I guess I should have said this at the very beginning, is making a routine that's simple, enjoyable, as well as sustainable. If you don't enjoy the routine, if you're feeling forced, like you have to do this every night, then it's just not going to stick, right? Here's a general rule of thumb. If you can't do this, let's say for like a decade, right? Then don't try to start it, right? Do something that's reasonable, that you can do consistently, and you won't necessarily force yourself to go out of your way to do. Okay, last is the zero-sum game. Basically means even if you do, when you have a lot of energy or when you're extremely focused, even if you have that energy and you want to do work, that extra work that you do tonight, that's going to detract from the absolute focus session that you're going to have in the morning tomorrow. So you have 1 less hour for you to work. So you'd rather get that extra hour of sleep and wake up early, get the day started when you have maximum energy. Okay, this is my exact evening routine as well. 7 p.m. cutoff, no work, relaxation, about 2-3 hours, plan for tomorrow, and then I just shower, head to bed, and I'm asleep by 10. Okay, I'll see you in the next module. Hey, welcome to the On Purpose Accelerator's Sleep Toolkit module. This is designed to optimize and tailor your circadian rhythm. In simple terms, it's your natural 24-hour clock. And this module, it's going to help you gain a seemingly endless supply of energy. So in terms of how many hours you should be sleeping, it really depends. Sleep doctors, they recommend anywhere between 7 to 9 hours of sleep because it is, in fact, different for everyone's routines, everyone's style of sleeping, right? And so your target here in terms of how often you should be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep should be 70 to 80% of the time. The reason I don't say 100 is because one, that's probably not achievable long-term. And the other the other 20 to 30%, which is why it's 70 to 80%, is hopefully to just enjoy your life, right? Hang out with your friends, be present in the moment, and have that balance where you're able to be spontaneous and you're able to adapt. And you're also, the majority of the time, hopefully, to stay consistent and stay focused on your goals. Sweet. In terms of sleep cycles as well as REM, if you've ever heard of the term, you probably have. It stands for rapid eye movement. Basically, in a full night's sleep, you cycle through 4 stages of sleep. And in those 4 stages of sleep, assuming you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you cycle through it about 4 to 5 times. So you go 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 4 to 5 times. There's 3 stages of non-REM sleep, followed by the last stage, which is 1 stage of REM sleep. This stage, it's basically associated with dreaming and memory consolidation. And it's also the most ideal time for you to wake up. So a full 90 minutes. So I broke it down, the science of napping, found a little diagram. The power nap, which I'll dive into later, and then 30 minutes grogginess. This is probably when you wake up, you feel tired, you don't feel energized. It's probably when. Short-term naps, these are okay, but it's recommended that you do the full 90 minutes if you're going to go through these. This is the easiest for you to wake up. So usually REM sleep, it happens approximately about 90 minutes after you fall asleep. And the first period of REM, it typically lasts about 10 minutes. But the interesting thing about this is each of your later REM stages, like I mentioned, goes through 4 to 5 cycles. Each one, it gets longer. So it's really, really hard to predict. It's not going to be 10 minutes. It could be like 15, could be 20, 30, whatever it is. And the final one, it could even last up to an hour, right? So it is a little bit harder to predict, which is why I go in the best way here. I'll talk about it soon. The best way, it's basically by experimentation as well as consistency, right? I mentioned this before, but waking up at the end of the REM cycle when sleep is the lightest, it's the best and optimal time to wake up to help you feel well rested and ready to start the day. It's also going to help you naturally get out of bed because you don't have to, the feeling of wanting to go back into bed isn't as strong because you're feeling energized, you're not tired, you don't want to go back to bed. It's an easier choice to make for you to start the day starting off with wins. Okay, it is going to take a few days and a few weeks to experiment with this because, time, you can't really speed that up. So the best way that I found was by experimentation and consistency. You can also try this sleep apps like Rise. It basically tracks your sleep and helps you wake up at a certain time. To be honest, I'm not too sure how that works, but you could consider trying that out. I might consider it later on in the future if I need to. But this is what I did. I created a sleep journal, and these are some of the prompts that I used, right? Like how long did I sleep for? When did I sleep? And what time did I wake up? I experimented from all the way from 10 a.m. to 5 a.m., even 4 a.m. before. My ideal time I found it right now is 5:30 a.m. and I sleep at 10. How long did it take you to fall asleep? You can track that roughly. How many times did you wake up in the middle of sleep? How long did you stay awake for? When did you stop looking at devices? This is a big one for me, especially blue light. When did you last eat? When did you last drink caffeine, alcohol, smoke? Those things apply to this as well. Sweet. In terms of naps, I briefly touched upon the 10 to 20 minute here power nap. It says it there. 20-minute power naps are the most ideal for something quick. You get a short burst of energy and it helps to re-energize yourself. Anything longer than half an hour, it's most likely going to make you feel groggy unless you do like the full 90 minutes. But sometimes you just don't have the time for that, which is why 10 to 20 minutes is the best. I set alarm usually for 15 to 25 minutes because it takes me about a few minutes to fall asleep, depending. And here I put in just a few guidelines for you. In the afternoon, if you take these naps, so let's say like 2 p.m., it's going to help you increase creativity. And in the evening, interestingly enough, first is there is a con side, which, if you're taking naps at like 7 p.m., it's probably going to interfere with your nighttime sleep because it messes you up a little bit, your circadian rhythm a little bit. but it can also be physically restorative. I would stay away from the evening ones as much as possible, but if you need, that is an option. I would only do the 20-minute maps. I wouldn't do a 90-minute one. I also want to go over something called the pilot's method for those who struggle to fall asleep. It used to take me about 15 up to like 30 minutes to fall asleep because I was just so addicted to games and I was just so addicted to having something interesting that it would be so boring to fall asleep and I wouldn't be tired. So here is actually a method to fall asleep in 2 minutes or less. This is what pilots use because they have to fall asleep at any time, anywhere, anytime, and anywhere in the world, right? So here is the exact strategy. Find a comfortable position, intentionally relax all of your muscles, starting from head to toe. You close your eyes, you focus on your breathing. If your thoughts wander, which they most likely will, you tell yourself, not now, and you refocus on that breathing. It's likely going to happen. I mean, it still happens to me sometimes, 50, 100 times, right? And it's really just about practicing going back into focus of breathing. You'll find yourself falling asleep in no time. Another thing that I want to talk about here is one thing that helps me is sometimes if breathing doesn't help, like I count numbers up to 100. By about like 50, I'm usually asleep because it's boring. Or another thing that I do is I relax all my muscles here and I imagine myself kind of sinking into the bed and I'm knocked out in 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. Just continue the cycle, focus on relaxation and slow breathing. It's going to take some time because you've probably never done this before. So don't beat yourself up if it takes you 15 minutes, right? As long as you continue to implement this, you're going to crush it. Okay. In terms of caffeine, shut this off, prefer optimally, by at least 8 hours before sleep. So, 10 to 12 p.m., 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., right? Even if you can sleep, some people, they say that all the science points otherwise, right? The depth and the quality of your sleep, it's just simply not as good as it would be if you didn't take that caffeine. So try to shut that off about at least 8 hours before sleep. Also, I realized it's a 10 to 12 hours. Sorry. Put a FAQ there. I won't go over it, but you can check that out as well. Sweet. That's everything for this module, and I'll see you in the next. Hey, this is Daniel, and welcome to the On Purpose Planning System module. The objective of this is to really solidify the saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Okay, so this module is going to teach you how to sustain your current level of high performance and how to actually adapt to when changes may arise. So I broke it down into a simple acronym, the 6 Ps. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. It's almost like a tongue twister, to be honest. So the point of this saying is so you make sure that there is time for traction. Traction is basically what brings you towards what you want in life. If you remember the goals that we created, the identity that we created in module 1 and 1.5, this is what that is, building traction so you take action on that. Distraction, right? It's things that pull you away. It's things like quick solutions to soothe our pain. That's why we procrastinate. It's why we call ourselves perfectionists, right? Got to resist that. And to make it easier, you go through this module, right? We have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I got a little quote here from Seneca. He basically says, people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering their time, they are the most wasteful of the one thing that it's actually right to be stingy about, right? And so if we don't plan our days, someone else will. And if we're fine with that, that's totally cool. But I like to plan my days and make sure I'm maximizing my life and I'm reaching my highest potential. Okay, so if you do too, this is the right module. Okay, if we fail to plan, then we plan to fail. You might have heard that. So the on-purpose planning system is going to help you actually maximize Google calendars or any other calendar and actually go through the second brain in just a bit as well. So first, the Google calendar is for you to always work with some sort of plan generally, right? More often than not, you want to work with a plan. Okay, so put it onto the list or calendar when something comes up immediately. You might be feeling at first, right? This is just like a hassle. You're better off just remembering things in your mind. But trust me, as life goes on, there's going to be more responsibilities. build the foundations now so you can have an organized system that you can execute on and easily adapt. And it takes maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes every night, and just throughout the day when you remember, right? Super simple, and it's actually going to help you much greater in the long run. So play the long game here. Okay, so I broke it down into monthly, weekly, and daily. So in the month, you want to just take maybe 10 to 20 minutes at the end of each month to create a super simple monthly plan, right? These are just things that are reoccurring. Maybe you got like an anniversary you want to celebrate, or a friend's birthday, just anything that you can remember. Put in some of the important dates, just super basic skeleton. Don't stress over this too much because things are going to change. So just build a skeleton here. Weekly should be a little bit more detailed, right? You're going to be adding events and plans throughout the week. This is going to be always changing, always under construction. So don't worry about having it perfect. Just stay adaptable, right? Stay flexible here. The one thing in daily though is you should be detailed for this, right? You want to build a exact 24-hour plan the night before. It should be detailed, and you should know exactly what you need to do as well as when you need to do it. So this is going to help you build steady and visible progress, which is then going to help you propel you forward and help you overcome procrastination. So this alone, just planning very clearly, is more than half of the journey to actually overcoming procrastination. Having that clear plan, the dedicated accountability, and the clear systems to make sure you take action, right? When you begin to see the results of consistency, it's going to bring that motivation back. Okay, motivation, it comes from action. So you got to take a lot of action. Okay, here's some full day examples for schedules that I would build for a work environment. Let's say I'm working a 9 to 5. That's how I'd somewhat build it roughly. And this is what I looks like my schedule now. Things that for my business, school, work, events, anything like those. This is what mine looks like at the moment. So ultimately, I just want to say, life should feel like a game. Okay? You fall in love with the journey. It shouldn't be just one big goal or one big destination, because quite frankly, it's just not going to fulfill you once you reach that, right? So make sure to fall in love with the journey, and none of this should really feel like work, right? It should feel like playing a game. And I really hate the word using should, but maximizing your life and maximizing your potential, it should feel like playing a game, upgrading real life skills, just like you do in video games, right? So you can zoom in to see here. I'll just press Command plus. So if you're watching the video, you don't have to. So this is just an example that I might do the night before. So obviously you wouldn't be this detailed in the month or the week view. This is what you do looking back, right? Let's say it's like a Sunday, the next day after this one, and you're just looking back. This is what it would look like maybe. And the night before, let's say it's right here. It's like a Tuesday. In this case, it's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So let's say it's a Tuesday here. It's my cutoff time and the PM on purpose evening routine. I'm planning out my day. I'll block this out. So I already have my morning routine. So that's already filled out. Work is already filled out. Honestly, all that stuff is just like my 6 to like 10 p.m. What I want to do there, I can just block that out. This is a little bit more simple, but let's actually move on to this one, right? This is going to require a little bit more planning and a little bit more thought process. So let's say it's in your PM routine, 9 o'clock, sometime around there. You want to plan out what exactly you're going to be doing for your absolute focus session, what your most important task is. Number one, right? We created that in the previous modules. And then you come back, let's say you finish, for example, like 5:30 is my morning routine. I spend time with God. I have the absolute focus. I have the gym 7:30 to 8:45, come back, shower by 9:15, and then I eat breakfast. And then I usually start my days around 9:45, 10 a.m. And at the time of this video, obviously. And then I just go through if I have calls, if I got any events, if I have things that I want to plan or whatever, I'll plan it all here the night before. The marketing masterclass, I'll make sure I have the link. It's super easy for me to just click and join. I got a coffee chat, right? I'll commute. There's a networking event, let's say, and I got to go there. I'll put in the commute time. It takes about 45 minutes, let's say. So I got to make sure like I have enough time to get ready, commute there, come back. I'm probably going to end up sleeping a little bit later, but that's fine. I go for 80-20 balance. You can ask me about that in the coaching call. So I'm fine with sleeping a little later. That might mean I sacrifice my sleep here, or I Do wake up a little earlier, and I'm fine with that because it's already near the end of the week anyways. So yeah, you can ask me about that if you're interested as well. So yeah, actually definitely ask me about how to plan your days, because I actually go over exactly, I'll work with you to plan out your days so you can get an understanding of how I would plan it if I was in your shoes, and it'll help you set yourself up for the long term. Okay, the second thing is just as important, if not even more important, but I would categorize it just as important, right? This is utilizing your second brain. Okay, your second brain, it's just a method to help you retain all the information so your real brain can actually focus on creating, working, idea generation, and actually solving problems, right? Notion is my go-to. And I actually created an entire module for this second brain, going over the exact templates that I cover. So you got a whole bunch there, and I go very in depth on how you can use it, how you can maximize it, and ultimately how you can make your life a lot easier by saving you time and saving you energy. So go watch those modules, and yeah, this will help you understand exactly what you need to do and when you'll do it, right? You just drag over your 3 most important tasks and you just time block them here. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this video. I hope that this has genuinely been useful for you, and that you take everything that I've given you, again, completely for free, and implement it into your own life, business, and content. You might have heard me say this, but information without implementation is just useless. Now, if you want help with the entire process of creating these systems and implementing it into your life, business, and content, and want to take things completely to the next level and work with me personally, feel free to book a call with me using the link below. It's gonna be a quick 30-45 minute strategy session showing you how we can actually take you from struggling to focus, being inconsistent, and burning out, and consistently executing your goals, reaching your highest potential, and still have time to enjoy your life. If that's not for you, that's totally fine. Go back to this video, rewatch these modules, and implement everything that I just talked about. Send this to your friends, your family, and anyone that you think this would be valuable for. And lastly, like, subscribe, and leave a comment for what you want to see next, because this genuinely took me so much time, effort, and money to give this all away for free. Again, if you want to work with me personally and implement these high-performance systems into your own life, business, and content, use the link below and we'll talk about how we can make it work. That is all for me, and peace out.